Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this is the Bauer Hyperlite stick review. Finally, obviously the stick has been out for a while now, and I've used it quite a bit. And obviously, this isn't quite a retail stick, but I'll kind of talk about that as well later on in the video. But this is the actual review of it. I've used it a bunch. I'm happy with it and everything, and I can talk about what I think of this stick so far. There's a bunch of stuff here. These are basically going to be used as kind of comparisons. Comparison here is the Bauer Vapor Flylite, which we have to jump into first before we start the actual Hyperlite review, because this stick really needs to be revisited, and I'll talk about that in 1 second. Before all that, if you live in the United States and want to support the channel, check out the links to Pure Hockey. Clicking that link, making a purchase gives me a kickback, helps support the channel so I can do real reviews and make content like these stick reviews. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel, check out Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. Everything that goes through there comes right back into the channel, and so I can make more content. Now, the reason we have to do a revisit of the Flylite is because this stick came out at the worst, but also perfect time. It came out for basically the perfect time for Bauer. It came out at the worst time in the sense of actual stick reviews. The reason being, this was Bauer's first real ADV tech stick in terms of hitting the retail world. This was Bauer's first sub 400 gram retail stick. And when I say retail, I mean like the ones actual for the masses, not the ADVs. Because obviously they had all their ADVs, which were super light. Then this thing came out, and this thing was just pushing Bauer into a new bracket of weight and everything. And it was honestly the first retail stick that, from the big companies, that weighed under 400 grams. Sherwood had sticks like that, but as comments always pop up on Sherwood stuff, it's Sherwood, and people generally don't care about that, unfortunately. But this was the big company pushing it below 400 grams. And even while this wasn't super below 400 grams, it was still a feat at the time. Now, the reason why I want to revisit this and talk about this is because now I think this stick sucks. I hate this stick. I don't have a ton of usage of this stick. And the reason being, when it came out, I was impressed by it, specifically the weight. It was okay for the time. It was good enough. But then right after this stick came out, the FT3 Pro came out and blew this out of the water. Then the AS3 Pro came out. Obviously, those are different kick point sticks, but they're still way lighter, kicked way better, were way better sticks. And then CCM came out with the Trigger 5 Pro, which was unbelievably light, crazy light. I hated the balance of it, but the weight of it was unreal. This thing was just falling behind because of that, and it was super mediocre, and it just wasn't great overall. I regret how and when that review came out because of that, because every other stick that came out afterward just dropped a ball on Bauer, specifically for the Flylite, and this stick honestly was pretty outdated the second CCM came out with stuff. Now, one of my biggest complaints about this stick is honestly the balance of it. It's where the weight portion of it, and that was my huge problem with the CCM Trigger 5 Pro. And this stick, it's not immediate to me as much as that stick was, but this stick, when switching between this and the Hyperlite, I noticed it a ton. My problem with this is it was still a bit too blade light, and so the shaft was felt heavier, and the balance point of it felt heavier on the shaft. So when I tried to do poke checks and pull stuff with this felt too light. People are too easy to kind of stick lift you like this on it, and you just couldn't get enough leverage. I couldn't get enough leverage down anything low on here with one-handed drags and stuff like that, and trying to pull the puck with one hand. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't like it. It also didn't shoot that great either. With that said, the Hyperlite is not a huge difference from the Flylite in terms of spec-wise, but we'll cover that in a second. The other thing about this stick, as you can see, I put what I thought was a hilarious graphic of this wasn't free. I couldn't add a space. It's not I had bad grammar, but it's not that bad. The reason I did this is because it seems like every single influencer got a hype box of this. So a box of this, a pair of skates, the awful 2X Pro gloves, and this stick. And honestly, obviously I'm not really an influencer. I didn't get one, which is fine. I wanted to put this on here as kind of a joke because I wasn't going to hype up the stick. The stick needed merit itself. I wanted to use it a bunch, and that's why I didn't rush to do this video, especially because of my experiences with the Flylite. I didn't want to rush to do that video to make sure I was pretty confident in this, and I really wanted to get this one right and my thoughts on this right. When you're looking at these two sticks and you see the construction of them and everything, they look the same. This still has that Easton bot tech in the XE taper, as you can see right there. The shaft shape is still that Easton taper rounded shaft down here and everything like that. The graphics are a lot better. I think this stick looks great with the chrome. Like, you kind of know what it is all the time. I think they did a really good job on this, and the Flylite has not aged well and doesn't look great. This one is pretty solid. The custom ones on these look amazing as well. And overall, this stick is just an improvement in every single aspect, which is what Bauer just frankly had to do. So I talked about the graphics really quickly on it and how I think they're pretty solid. Again, custom looks amazing. The other thing I want to talk about on this, and I think not enough people focus on this, is the grip of this stick. So this was a MyBauer custom. As you can see, it has textured grip. It has my name bar on it. I didn't do a different color though, because when I ordered this stick, you could only get it in the stock colors. You couldn't do the custom colors yet, because I ordered it basically before this was out at retail and got it a few weeks after this came out, or it was like right on the date. With that said, I did go with the all around textured grip, and you can see it through the light. It's that nice like square pattern all the way through. And the grip on this stick is amazing. Obviously, this is my preference of textured, but textured sticks are coming back to the market at retail. Sherwood has kept it going all the time, which is I'm very happy with, so thank you, Sherwood. But CCM has come back with their Trigger 6 and with other of their most recent sticks with a little bit of texture. Nothing like this, but it's still really nice. The thing is, nobody beats Bauer in textured quality. They used to advertise whatever their grip tack or whatever it was called on their sticks somewhere, and it was basically what they called their spray or whatever it is. I don't see it anymore. It's honestly not important anyways. The way Bauer does grips is so impressive compared to CCM and other companies out there now. And even this one, while it's still just the gloss, and I wish this was textured, this feels so much thicker and it's like more durable. Obviously, the stuff is going to chip. Obviously, there's still chips on it, and like when puck marks and stuff like that, and you can see the grip chipping, and that happens. But it doesn't flake nearly as bad as CCM's does. And this honestly just feels so much thicker than what CCM's does, and feels so much better in your palms. And the grip itself is just awesome. The only other company that has been doing grip nearly close as Bauer is ProStockHockeySticks.com. And I have, like, they sent me one of their sticks, and their grip is phenomenal. They have the custom options to do all the crazy different grips on there from all the different company styles, like the Eastons with their Kevlar style to the old like fish line one, which I think was a Reebok one or Warrior. Don't quote me on that. But they have all these awesome textured grip options. This is one of the options, my favorite option from Bauer. And honestly, it is amazing. It's one of those things that people never talk about, like the grip of a stick. They're like, oh, it has grip, and that's it. It's so nice. It's one of those just going the extra detail, making a stick and something of quality, and that's what this is, and Bauer does an excellent job on it. Their grip is fantastic. They deserve a ton of credit for it. And people are like, oh, you worry too much about the grip. You're talking too much about the grip. This thing is in your hands all the time. So unless you're candy caning this like Kessel for some weird reason with tape, this is always in your hand. You're always feeling this. You can always feel these dimples. You're holding onto it all the time. It's something that is important and people often overlook. The grip on this is phenomenal, and I have to give Bauer huge credit for it. Now, the next big difference on these two sticks is the balance of the stick. The reason being, this stick feels like it's a lot more blade heavy. Both of these are the same Max P29 Max blade, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but this stick feels a lot more blade heavy than the Flylite did. And what I mean by that is, like, when you actually balance it, it feels like it's going more towards the blade, and when I'm holding in my hands just like this, it feels like it's more balanced with my hands lower, so the weight, if I went in the middle, it would go like that. The weird thing about the balance though is when I line them up, the balance point actually points that it's almost the same, but that the Flylite has a heavier blade part, because you can see the blades are, well, they're basically lined up. They're really close. But the point on the stick itself is also like basically the same, with the Flylite being a little lower. So a little lower, obviously the balance point would be there's more weight on the blade itself. And again, very close to lined up. Obviously this is not scientific or anything, but that's from what I can tell from balancing it. But the difference when playing through this is night and day. Every time I try to reach for this, I never felt like I had enough weight on the blade. So I don't know how the balance point on this feels like it changed so much, especially when it's just in your lower hand, how light this feels down there compared to this stick where it just feels like it tilts a little bit more down there, which for more weight, which for me works perfectly whenever I'm trying to reach for pucks, just having a little bit more of the bounce towards the blade. So stick basically doesn't just bounce off, feel like it bounces off the ice with the slightest motion of lifting your hands and everything. For me, this balance is awesome. Really, really good. One of the best there is. I think they did a solid improvement on this, and it makes me really enjoy the stick, especially a lot more than the Flylite. The Hyperlite's kind of just a little bit better in that regards, and I think they really rounded the stick out well for that. Now, curves are obviously a personal preference thing, so some people like a certain one or not. I'm not going to review a curve. What I am going to do though is say Bauer does an excellent job in offering a ton of curves for their custom MyBauer thing. There's a ton there, which is awesome, but also the P92M. Now Warrior also has this now, but CCM still doesn't have an M, like a max blade height for their actual P92s and P88s and 28s. They have the P90TM, which is kind of the mix, and that's it. The max blade height, I love. I feel like it does change the balance a little bit for a little more weight down here just because it's a little bit taller. But with that said, I find I knock down so many more pucks for this that if I have an opportunity, I'm getting a P92M all the time. It works so well for me. Playing defense, knocking pucks off the boards, anything like that. I found pucks just bounce or jump over this so much less than other sticks I use. So I'm a huge fan of this curve and this curve option. And I have to give Bauer a ton of credit for their custom program, allowing all these different custom curves in there, which is honestly the best in terms of the retail market. Their customizer and the ability to order these just like a one-off like this one. And obviously this isn't a crazy curve, but you can get those custom curves like some of the pro curves. The customization on this isn't as good as what, for example, Pro Stock sticks offer, but they're not a retail operation. This is. CCM doesn't have this. Warrior doesn't have this, and if they do, it's a pain, and like no retailer I really talk to goes through it. And I don't think you can order like one-off sticks like this one. And I have a ton of options for MyBauer and stuff that give this a kind of an edge in terms of getting something you really like. For example, this grip. I would love this grip on all my sticks. Bauer is really the only option to go to get this grip on one of their top-end sticks through the retail pathway, and it's a nice thing. And just like the curves, custom grip, it's something that the other companies aren't offering at the moment, and it's something that's a nice thing and they deserve credit for, and it should be mentioned. Blade pinginess is something I always get a question about what it means, and some people think of it as stiffness of the blade, but it's not really the same thing. They're two different things. Stiffness is how much like the blade opens up or feels like it's opening on a shot. Pinginess is basically that. It's the pinginess, basically the sound it makes when a puck hits it. The reason I say the sound and the reason why I always iterate sound and why it's called pinginess is because it translates basically to your hands. If it's more deadened, the sound's going to be not as pingy. So it's going to be more dampened, and that feel basically goes into your hands. The Hyperlite is Bauer's pingiest blade I've used ever. I don't know if it is ever, but it definitely is the pingiest that I've ever used. Generally speaking, this is not my favorite type of blade. My favorite type of blade is this, like on the Ultrasonic and the Geo, a more dampened one for what I think is better puck feel, especially for passing, like hard passing, receiving passes, stuff like that. I like that a little bit better. It's just softer to the touch. I feel like I know exactly what the puck is going to do off the blade. Where a more pingy blade like this and like the CCM Super Tax line basically, or most CCM sticks are way pingier, is I find the puck feels like it jumps off a little bit more, and it's just not quite exactly where I want it all the time. This is something that changes when you play. Sometimes you like like I used to like pingier blades, and then I started using the Bauers, and I like the Bauers more, the softer ones. So this is a personal preference thing. How that is achieved. So this is an ultrasonic stick, and I'll be doing a video in the future about blade pinginess. I'm just trying to grab blades so I can show kind of the different interiors of them. But this is an ultrasonic stick, and I'm trying to get this to focus. You can see the white pieces in there, which are foams, and that's for dampening foams. And you can see there's a black piece in there that's for rigidity and the stiffness of the blade. This is a very soft blade compared to the Hyperlite and compared to like CCM sticks. So this foam, there's generally more of a softer density foam throughout the blade to make it less pingy and to make it more dampened. That's what this material is right there, and kind of what that does. So if you picture that in the blade itself, that's where like the foam pieces would be through there. And then True does a really good job of showing where their carbon reinforcement strips are on their website. I think it's called their BRT, braided rib technology stuff. And that's like a braided rib of carbon through their blade. They kind of do a 3D model of it. It's pretty interesting. But this is the closest I can get to showing that off right now without cutting a stick I use all the time or not going to just destroy. without showing that off. So that is the idea behind the pinginess. Now pinginess is really hard to describe and talk about on camera. It's a feel thing. So I'm trying to kind of talk about this and like discuss it and explain it because it is a personal preference thing, especially how pucks, like how sticks overall feel. So I'm gonna try it here. Now, this is a CCM SuperTax AS3 Pro. This is the most pingy retail stick I've ever used. Very pingy. Everything that touches this, you feel it in your hands all the time. The Hyperlite is very pingy. Not quite as much as the AS3 Pro. The Flylite honestly feels totally dead compared to the Hyperlite and the AS3 Pro. This one is way less pingy than what those ones were. And this one just feels kind of like a dead puck feeling all throughout, especially compared to those. And now a few caveats of this. Obviously, me tapping it with my knuckles and hitting it with a puck isn't the best way to describe this and talk about it, but there's no real other way for me to really show this. Going back to puck feel with the pinginess, this stick feels really good when I use it. Passing everything feels solid. The balance is really good on it too, but I'm always pretty confident where this puck's going when I'm passing, receiving passes, everything like that. Like I mentioned, it is too pingy for my liking, but there is that no dead puck feel. It's still very, like you can feel it all the way through. And sometimes sticks that go too pingy do have a kind of a dead puck feeling because it feels like honestly you're holding a piece of metal and it just vibrates all the time, but you don't really get a sense of the puck itself. It's just like a hit and then vibration. The Hopa prototype that I had, which had a crazy pingy stick and a super, super stiff blade, it was awful for puck feel. It was just terrible. This one, I love it. It's really good. It's not my favorite one. I still stick with the Geo and Ultrasonic. I like those more, but this is still really good. And it's a bonus for what Bauer did. They do have a stiff blade option. It doesn't feel like crap, which honestly, the Flylite to me just feels dead now in comparison. And it, again, when it came out, it was all about that lightweight and being the first one under that 400 grams really. And now it's just, this stick is a huge disappointment. This one, puck feel, pretty solid. If you like to support the channel and you live in Canada, check out the link in the description to Hockey Supremacy. Clicking that link, making a purchase gives me a kickback. That way I can keep making more content like these real stick reviews and not just snapshot reviews. And so I can test like demo equipment and stuff like that with the puck machine. Anything I get through clicking that link always comes back into the channel and will always support making more content. Now, talking about weight, the Flylite was a super impressive stick because it was under 400 grams from all the big companies, basically, the first one there. Obviously, again, Sherwood has had lighter than this. This stick didn't really change much in weight. Its advertised weight is 385 grams. My stick was 394 grams, which is within their tolerances. And the other thing to mention too is that textured piece does add weight to it. It is basically a piece that goes all the way around, like it wraps on a stick. It's a little film. Check out Pro Stock Hockey Stick's video on how this is done. I'll try to link it up here to kind of show you. That adds weight. And so again, I'm not really worried about 394. It's not amazing. CCM's, while they're like Trigger 5 Pro was way lighter, but again, I hated the balance. Trigger 6 Pro I have is slightly lighter than this. It was actually heavier because CCM sticks are longer. When you cut that off, it ends up being lighter overall. But again, the SuperTax is way lighter. The jet speeds are way lighter. And generally the triggers are a lot lighter too. Bauer does not have the lightweight game going for their normal retail sticks. The ADV sticks, totally different thing. Supposedly there's an ADV stick coming out that's going to be like close to 300 grams, which is nuts. I haven't seen it. All I've heard is rumors of it. This stick is nothing like that. It's not mind blowing for weight, and it's kind of what this stick kind of overall is. It's not mind blowing. And a lot of people are disappointed in that, I guess because the price, sticks are always getting more expensive and it's frustrating, but it's not crazy in any regards. Now on to shooting, which is what everyone really cares about. And it's, this stick is fine. When I'm using this stick, I'm not disappointed with shooting it. And I don't think that, like when I'm shooting it, that I'm really missing out on a lot. This is no Code 5. This stick, I actually get off good shots with it and I'm happy with the placement. I can be generally sort of accurate with it. But again, it's not like the FT3 Pro felt. It's not like the Trigger 6 feels like, not even close. And it's, to me, it's more along the lines of what Bauer has been doing recently with like the Geo and the Ultrasonic. Well, the Ultrasonic was a great slapshot stick. Both of those sticks were just kind of not that top tier that CCM sticks are currently in terms of kick and just like overall like quick release. Now, obviously this is their engineered for quick release low kick. And generally speaking, I like low kick sticks. I love the QR line from Warrior, the Covert line, and I love the Trigger line until the Trigger 5 Pro. And for the Trigger 6, we'll talk about that in that review. This stick, everything was just okay. It doesn't feel like it comes off like a rocket, but it feels like it comes off solid. It's not the best by all means, and it's just okay. There's nothing mind-blowing about this stick from shooting or from really anything at all. But being solid and just good at everything isn't a bad thing, and that's really what this stick is coming down to. I'm not overly impressed with the shooting. I'm not overly impressed with the weight. I am very impressed with the grip, and I'm impressed with the overall balance and everything of it, but just it's not that one level up. Overall, I'm a fan of the stick. It's a stick that I enjoy, and it's a stick I will keep using. Unlike this one, which has been totally relegated since basically all of the CCM under 400 gram sticks came out, this is just blah. This one I'll keep using. The grip is honestly though one of the reasons why, because it's so nice. I love putting a nice thin pair of palmed gloves on here, like the digital palm ones or just those AX weight, because you can feel this all over, and it just feels amazing when you're sliding your lower hand up and down the stick, and it's just that tactile feel, and the grip just feels really good on it, and I really like it. This stick is fine. It's just not my favorite overall, and it's not the best overall. Obviously, it's super expensive. Bauer isn't pushing boundaries with this. They're not basically making the best stick ever, like how I did the FT3 Pro video, which that stick, I still stand behind. That stick shoots awesome. This thing is just, it's good. It's not amazing. It's just good. The thing about this that makes me have a hard time just saying, yeah, buy this, is that when companies like Pro Stock Sticks exist, which do basically what this stick does at a fraction of the price, and you can order like, their customizer gives you more options in this. Basically, you can do more custom colors, you can do custom graphics if you really want to. So while I'm totally happy using this and enjoy it, without that P92M, Pro Stock 6 is basically honestly the kind of way to go. And I'm not endorsed by him. He sent me one stick ever. That's it. Okay. And he's not paying me to say any of that. It's just, this isn't super amazing anywhere to really be like super worth it. You have to buy Bauer sticks, and you really want Bauer sticks, it's totally fine. The grip is still awesome, and no one retail can come up with this. It's a decent low kick with a pingy blade if that's something you like. If you want a pingy blade on a low kick, but maybe the CCM trigger line isn't right for you because it's a little softer, this is an option, and it's fine. And if you want this blade on a low kick, you have the Covert in this, and that's your options. You're not going to go wrong getting this stick. You're going to be okay. It's not going to blow you out of the water or anything. It's just going to be solid. And honestly, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Remember, subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Links are in the description. If you are making any hockey purchases in the United States, check the link to Pure Hockey. Click on that link, make a purchase, gives me a kickback so I can keep doing more real reviews like this. And if you're in Canada, check out the links to Hockey Supremacy. Again, everything that goes through those two links comes right back into the channel. So I keep basically buying gear to test and doing real tests on hockey. Equipment doesn't really exist in the world, to be honest. So I'm trying my best here. It'd be greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.